Hello, Rob here. This is an analysis of page 27 of the July 1965 edition of Vogue. This is an advert for Imperial leather soap, which is a familiar brand that you may very well have in your bathroom right at this minute. It is still sold, and the packaging doesn't look significantly different now than it did then. So, again, this is not a high class, high status object anymore. It might have been in the 60s, but now this is a mass market, mass production, one of the most common types of soap brands you can buy in literally any supermarket or drugstore. Now, chemists, let's have a look at the semiotics here. Again, we're looking at the semiotic analysis, so we need to be looking at you know, Roland Barthes, we need to be considering denotation, we need to be considering connotation, we need to be considering again Barthes' theory of anchorage, we need to be looking at the text and the image, the way in which they juxtapose with one another and they anchor one another. We need to consider any binary opposites that are inherent in this, either obvious ones or implied ones. We need to consider the representations again. Elizabeth Van Zunen, Judith Butler, and Stuart Hall are the key ones we need to be looking at here. Okay, so again, Elizabeth Van Zunen said that women tend to be represented in limited ways. They are either sexualized as objects of a male gaze and male sexual objectification, or they are seen as domestic, or they are seen as maternal. So they are mother figures. They are motherly, they look after the house and the home, they are domestic. So, definite. This is what we've got going on here. This is the representation of the woman as mother, as maternal figure. But again, in terms of objectification, she is being photographed wearing a black jumper against a black background, which turns her literally into a floating head. She is reduced to a head and an arm, and a left hand or thumb, basically. Objects, pieces, bits. So she's being objectified. Again, it's focusing on the beauty of her face. And she is quite young. She's got to be, I don't know, it's difficult to tell. I mean, I wouldn't put her much past her mid-30s, possibly late 20s. Hard to say. But again, there's a representation, like all the other ones we've seen so far, of mainly blonde, white, Caucasian, Anglo-Saxon whiteness. What is definitely not here is any representation of people of colour in any way, shape or form. Certainly not as an ideal self, which is what she, of course, is supposed to represent to the readers. That's Carl Rogers, right? She is an aspirational role model. She is a restricted role model. It's not giving women much in the way of options here. Women here are only there to be pretty. At no point do we see women being represented as scientists or racing drivers or, politicians or, architects or anything like this. They are wives, they are girlfriends, they are mothers, they are sex objects. Okay, we have not seen any other representations and we won't see any in Vogue. Right? Again, it's suggesting that to be maternal is one of the key things that a mother has. Look, again, stereotypes of roles, but again, the towel here is pink. Now, yes, this does kind of reflect the colouring and the packaging of the Imperial leather, which is in this kind of burgundy colour, I guess, a deep, rich red anyway. But nonetheless, again, stereotypically feminine colour. Hard to say. The baby looks like a boy, which I'm taking purely from its haircut. Difficult to tell in any other way, really, when they're that young, without closer examination, if you will. But look at it, it's tender, she's loving, she's caring. It's telling us that women are emotional creatures, that they are, they're tender, they're caring, they're loving, that they are nurturing, that they're caregivers. Okay, again, this is a restricted role that women have. This ties in with Lisbeth Van Zunen, but she's also there to look pretty as well. Right? In a way, she's being submissive because it's her job to serve the child, if you will. It's her job to look after it. Okay? It's actually very dark as an image. I mean, yeah, it helps to make her pop against its black background, but it's a pretty dark background or something in a soap advert. But I suppose it suggests nighttime, that she's putting the child to bed after its nighttime bath. Strange font they're using here. It's sort of a serif font, sort of a script font. It's almost Germanic in its look. Very unusual. You, again, it's personalising, it's a direct address, it's like he's talking to you. You want skin that feels soft. Soft as a child's. Now, here again, it's suggesting that the ideal for women is youth. That women should be hanging on to their youth. That there's nothing attractive for women in maturity. This is different to men, of course. We've got the idea of the silver fox, the idea that men actually age like a fine wine and get better and more attractive as they get older. This is very rarely the case for women. And that for you, and for that you need Cusson's Imperial leather. Leather, quite masculine sounding. I always associated this as quite a masculine soap, I guess. Leather is a masculine sounding word. Imperial is a strong word. Again, it implies empire, in a sense, Britishness. Post-colonialism, Paul Gilroy here. You know, it's traditional. You know, it's masculine colours. It's got this sort of like crest, theatrical looking crest on it. Something quite military about it. You know, it's not a feminine looking product. Anyway, good pure soap, blended with 21 essential oils to care for your complexion, gently, safely, to keep your skin as soft as a child's. Enjoy Imperial Leather's perfume in both cubes and talcum powder too. Bath cubes, that is. That'd be like a bath bomb in today's adage, or bath salts. Again, far less copy in it than we saw in the adverts for the other cosmetics. Certainly less than the Revlon one. About possibly less than was in the Q-Tex advert as well. But very much to the point. Again, it's using words like pure. This suggests cleanliness. It suggests that it's, you know, unadulterated, that it's unsullied. Blended with 21 essential oils. Well, what the hell does that mean? That's the kind of stuff you get. It's the kind of techno-babble you get in modern cosmetics as well, you know. You know, why on earth do we need jojoba in our shampoo? Who knows? It just sounds good, doesn't it? Again, this is much more like a modern advert in that it's got far less copy text in it and far more in the way of images. Again, not a massive amount to talk about here. This is ultimately all down to representations, and yet again, it's the restricted amount of representations that women can have. But again, it's cosmetics. Simple as soap, yes, but it's about cleanliness. It's about smelling nice. It's about being alluring and attractive. And who's that meant to be alluring and attractive to? Men. Okay? But it's also telling us that women should be caring, they should be caregivers, they should be mothers. And this is one of the roles that women should restrict themselves to. So the binary opposite of that, of course, is what is not in the picture. What is not visible, you know. Anything that's not there. What is not there in many ways can be as significant importance as what is there. Where are the professional women? Where are the independent women? Where are the women who don't want to be housewives and mothers? Where are the women who have different sexualities? Where are the women of colour? They're not there because the important thing is to be heterosexual, middle class, white and blonde, and to know your place as a mother and a wife. So if we put this in the context of patriarchy and patriarchal society and control, and you know, before the birth of second wave feminism. Now, having said that, I am not saying that there's anything wrong with being a wife and a mother. If that is one of your choices, if that is the only choice you have, then that's a problem. If you choose that lifestyle, then there's nothing wrong with that. Right, that's the Imperial leather advert. Again, not an awful lot to say, except that it is in colour. So it would have been one of the more expensive adverts, as opposed to the black and white ones we've seen earlier, which were for smaller companies. This, of course, is a massive company. Right, okay. That'll do for that one, I think. If you've got any questions, you know where I am. Next up on our list is, I think, probably the picnics one. Right, see you in the next video.